Welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast with Karen and Curtis Herbert, where we combine the best of theology, science, and coaching to inspire your empowerment. It's our mission to help you release the inner obstacles that are holding you back from embracing true Christian freedom, so the power of the Holy Spirit can manifest in you. So if you believe that God has more for you, if you want to believe that God has more for you, listen on, my friend. Hello, and welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast, and happy Easter. You're here with Karen and Curtis Herbert.
Hey, everybody. Happy Easter. Say, Karen, we had a listener tell us that they're doing Jacques Philippe's Interior Freedom on the Hallow app. How cool is that?
Oh, I love it.
We love that book. And she said, I thought of you guys because you did such a great job talking about Christian freedom.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
It was really nice. And so that goes back to episode 62, where we did a season on freedom. And yeah, the whole subject of freedom is really huge. And frankly, I think what we've been talking about recently, this excellence, it speaks directly to freedom because, of course, Catholics, we love to talk about virtue and being virtuous and all these things. And that's really great. And virtue, really, it's an invitation to excellence is what that is. And it's what we talked about on the previous episode, and it's connected to what we're talking about now.
It is. And one of the things, speaking of that, that's coming to me that I love about virtue is really the virtue is the thing that gets you the thing. And
yes.
You can always
that's well
say,
said. Just repeat that.
What? Oh, the virtue is the thing that gets you the thing you really want.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the way into the life of freedom and the life of excellence and the life of joy. That's what I really like about them.
I'm so impressed. I wish I would have said that. Because, I've made the point repeatedly that virtue is not the end.
Yeah.
It is a means to an end.
Right.
And there are many forms of excellence. And like I was saying in this last episode, I'm often not really stepping up to the plate. And I can sympathize with myself. I can't work on everything all at once simultaneously. That wouldn't be effective. Yet I appreciate that there are perhaps large areas of my life where I've just maybe not only settled in, some areas where I kind of just given up.
Yeah. Well, today I want to talk, Curtis, about something that's part and parcel of not giving up. It's something we use in our coaching that really is part of this process of striving for excellence. And it's one of my favorite things to do. I really love to work on this with clients. And the name, I think, is a little bit confusing sometimes to people. But the thing that we're talking about is basically creating a clear vision for who you want to be and what you want your life to look like. And the word we use for that is avatar.
Avatar,
it's your avatar. So this is the vision of your future self that you create to give you the direction and the way that you're going to strive for excellence.
It's what you're stepping into.
Yeah, exactly. And really, if you don't have it, I think it's very difficult to meet with any kind of effectiveness what you were just talking about, Curtis, which is the problems we're trying to solve in our life or the areas we want to be different, but we're not sure how and we're not sure what to do, and we just eventually give up.
That's right, Karen. So I have some vague ideas in my life about who I should be and what I should be doing. Yet, and I'm always trying to encourage myself to, do better, do more, live up to my standards or the standards that I embrace. Yet it's so vague. It's not sending me in any particular direction, if you will.
Right. And the thing about it is we're one person, and there's so many different ways to live excellence. There's so many ways to live excellence. Yet we have to really zone in on how am I meant to be living that. And that's a vision we create, yes, with the Lord and with the Holy Spirit. And we have to create it if we're going to get there.
Tell us more about the avatar thing.
Sure. Well, you can do it in many different ways. One really good way to do it is to think of yourself in the next 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years and start to imagine who you want to be, what kinds of things you want to be true, what you want to be doing, what you want your environment to be and your habits to be and your way of life to be. And as you start to imagine, you start to create a picture for yourself. And it's super helpful because most of us don't make a really big move toward vision for ourselves. We tend to live life responding to problems and things that we want to change, but it's really, well, I don't like the way it is, so I want to get away from the way it is. We've talked about this in a previous episode, I think, the move away versus the move toward. And an avatar is like this larger, comprehensive move towards vision that is powerful and effective to create some momentum for you and to create a direction.
It's the big move towards vision. And what challenges me about the avatar is that it has the high level, but it also starts to move through different levels of goals, and it starts to get specific.
Yeah.
And it starts to be a little uncomfortable. Because, you have the big vision, yet when's the rubber going to meet the road? And it puts it all in front of you. And I find that having an avatar it's challenging.
Wow. I just think that's a really great point, Curtis. I'm just right now having an epiphany about how keeping something vague, like, keeps us from having to commit to the thing. Well, if it's kind of vague, then I'm only committing partway to achieving this thing. And maybe I'm off the hook if I don't get there, or I'm off the hook if I'm not putting the energy in and really doing the thing.
Vague is comfortable. Vague is good.
This is a connection that I really hadn't made before is when it's vague, you're not pushing yourself to take that really hard step of going for it.
I'm thinking of a man we know who shared his story about having an avatar and how he wanted to teach in this certain area, to give seminars and be a public speaker. And he spent years developing his expertise. And it got to the point where he didn't have time to watch his favorite show, Law and Order.
That was it?
Yeah. And it wasn't that he was trying to cut things out of his life, yet his move towards goals were so powerful that he started to make some choices so that he could get to his big goal.
Sure. So these other things that need to fall to the side became very apparent when he had that big momentum and commitment. Yeah, that's interesting too.
So it was challenging. Yet the idea is to make it very compelling and attractive so that, oh yeah, I'm getting off focus here. I'm not doing my thing yet. I have these, and let's call it the avatar in mind. And well, it kind of helps me want to stay on focus.
Right. The other thing I think that having the avatar does is, and it's similar to what we just talked about, is to make the commitment, you can't stay in your comfort zone. You can't stay in that place that you really like, that feels secure and comfortable. And it makes me think, this is kind of maybe a silly analogy, but it's making me think of that brain puzzle. I think we've all seen it, right? It's got the 9 dots, and there's 3, and then there's 3 below, and then there's 3 more below. So it kind of makes like a little tic-tac-toe square, kind of.
Yeah, it's a little grid of 9 dots.
Yeah. And the puzzle is, I think you have 4 lines, and you're supposed to put a line through the center of each dot using only 4 lines.
Yeah, you're supposed to use your pencil and not take your pencil off the paper when using 4 lines.
That's right. That's right. And most people kind of eventually get there, or they give up to do that. But the thing that I'm thinking of is the reason it's so hard is because we look at that puzzle and we make all these assumptions like, oh, the lines have to stay in this little box. Here's a little box and we have to stay in the box, and that must be a rule. And so we get stuck in that box of assumptions, and you can't solve the problem there. There's just no way. And so maybe we get really super frustrated and we try really hard, and then we either give up or we have this epiphany that we need to change our whole vision and approach in order to solve the problem.
Right. So for that little puzzle, often we will start by drawing lines within that little grid as if it were surrounded by a little square or fence. But eventually we realize we have to send the pencil way out of the box so we can kind of swoop back down to get a new angle and solve the puzzle.
Right. And if we don't do that, if we stay kind of in this box, then there's no way to get to the new kind of solution. And I think that an avatar is kind of like that, is it forces you to get outside of your box and start to look for new possibilities and new opportunities and new solutions instead of staying in the box and just getting frustrated and saying, this is too much. There's no solution. It's not going to work. Forget it. I'm not even going to try, or I'm going to give up, or wow, gee, I really would love X, Y, Z, but I'm not even going to go there because, hey, it would never work.
That's right, Karen. So much of intelligence, especially emotional intelligence, emotional IQ, is putting things in their proper context. What's the right context? Yet in these areas of life where we're not making progress, where we're giving up, we're perhaps not using the right context. We're limiting ourselves unduly. It would be perhaps a failure of imagination. And I read a lot of Ian McGilchrist. I'm back in that phase. He wrote The Matter with Things. He's a neuroscientist and a philosopher and clinical psychologist. He talks about the imagination as a critical human faculty, right up there with intelligence and memory being essential to our humanity. And by imagination, he doesn't mean fantasy, which is about the unreal or the make-believe. He means the power to use our faculties to explore what we know or the things we experience or that which we perceive. So for instance, if you have a big project that you're working on or maybe a big presentation, you probably spent a lot of time imagining how you might explain it. So this is your faculty of imagination, just exploring some possibilities. And when we go through the avatar process, for instance, or this goal making of something that's bigger than we are in the moment, the imagination is really critical. And often I think when we are stuck, when we're giving up, maybe it's a failure of imagination.
Wow, the image that's coming to mind for me is like you see the seed and you have to be able to imagine it as the fruitful tree in its fullness. If you can't imagine that, then you won't A, appreciate the thing that you have, B, foster it and nurture it to come to some kind of fruition, or really even know the place that it has in your life.
That's a great metaphor. Or is it an analogy?
I don't know. I think we just need to once and for all get our dictionary out and figure out the difference.
No, I want somebody to explain it to me. So if we're painting a picture, we need to have in our imagination some pretty good idea of
Yeah.
where we're going with it. And maybe it won't turn out exactly like we were planning, yet imagination is critical to creating the picture as we kind of let that unfold before us.
Yeah. And it's really what gets our unconscious mind on board with the whole direction, because it's all of that sensory reality sinking in that provides the context for the unconscious mind to understand what it is it's trying to be aiming at. Well, Curtis, it's your turn to do the summary for the episode.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're nearing the end. It's your turn to give us a little takeaway.
Okay, well, we've been talking about pursuing excellence and how making it specific is part of the challenge. And there are perhaps areas of life where we would love to have excellence, yet we've more or less giving up. And perhaps imagination has a role to play here to help us explore what we could hope for,
Right.
to explore what we might choose to work for, and to start to have ideas about what that would look like and what specifically we could do to have the excellence in our life, which is the thing that gets us the thing, as you say.
Yes. Yes. So I kind of want to leave our listeners with a little bit of a thought challenge. If you're thinking about this whole topic, what would it be like to have a 5-year vision of yourself in its fullness and where you'd like to be in that time frame? Like, what would a vision like that do for you? How would it inspire you? How would it challenge you? What would you need to think about and allow yourself to dream about in order to create a vision like that? Or is there anything, perhaps, as Curtis mentioned, that you at some level have given up on creating in your life or receiving in your life or changing in your life? And what would it be like to confront that as you're creating a vision for yourself?
That's great, Karen. And for anyone that's thinking about working with us, that's curious about working with us, you can go to empowercatholics.com. There are ways to get in touch with us. There's ways to talk to us and find out what would it look like and what might be possible for you. Thank you for being here with us this week. Visit our website at empoweredcatholics.com to learn more about us. And remember, as Pope Francis says, God comes to break open everything that keeps you closed in.